This is the Angels Postcast, your instant game reaction for the Los Angeles Angels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello, Halo Nation. Hello, Halo hopefuls, and welcome back to the latest edition of the Locked On Angels Postcast, coming at you live, as always, after every single Angels game, right here on the Locked On Angels YouTube channel, and after the fact, both on the channel and wherever you get the Locked On Angels podcast feed. If you don't know who I am, what's going on, everybody? My name is Gavin Carlson, former credential journalist in the LA area with the Daily Bruin, and now in year 2 with the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team every day. Our team is the Angels, and unfortunately, the Angels pick up a loss here in what was an exciting game to some degree, a 5-4 loss, unfortunately, to the Tampa Bay Rays. Falling behind 4-0 early, doing everything they can to claw back into this one, making it interesting, but ultimately a comeback falls short a couple of times, and the Angels do fall for the first time in a couple nights, fall to 7-4, still a fantastic start, still on pace for that 5-4 a record in this 9-game road trip if they can win the series tomorrow morning against the Rays. But plenty to talk about in this one. First and foremost, as always, shout out to everybody in here for so many reasons. Obviously, yesterday was an absolutely crazy game, a crazy show. This one is going to be a little less stressful because I ended up doing my shift with the Clippers before the show, so I can be here the full 20 minutes and give us a calm, controlled show where I don't have to leave and I can really break everything down. But I just want to say thank you so much to everyone yesterday that was so understanding with all that, and glad we can do it again today. Shout out to everybody in here live, as always, seeing some of the regular people, Fut Alex, Antonius, Akura Man, James, Dave, Nathan, and so many others to name. So shout out to all of you in here. Appreciate it. Plenty to talk about in this one, but we're going to jump right into it. We don't have to waste much time. Let's get to the turning point.
Time to reveal where the game was won or lost. It's the turning point.
Yeah, don't have to wait very long for this one. Maybe it's a little bit too obvious, but really the turning point of this game has to be Jose Caballero hitting that first inning grand slam off of Yusei Kikuchi. Anytime you can have 4 runs in one swing, anytime it can set the tone in a game like this did. I mean, you jump up 4-0 on one swing in the bottom of the first inning. And as good as this Angels offense has been, when that happens, you certainly think, wow, if the Angels can come back and win this game, this is a level of resilience and comeback ability, inventing words here, that we haven't seen from the Angels in recent years at all. But yeah, obviously, a grand slam in the first inning is huge. Kikuchi, we'll talk a little bit about it later in the show in terms of if there's any concerns in the long run for him. But the inning starts with a second pitch leadoff single from Yandy Diaz. He gets thrown out at second base by Tim Anderson. So Caminero reaches. Then it's a 1-out single from Curtis Mead, first and third with 1 out. You get a huge strikeout of Christopher Morel. 3 pitches, just relying on the fastball, outside corner, inside corner, and then a called third strike on a fastball right down the middle. So first and third, 2 outs, Danny Jansen up. You walk him on 5 pitches. None of them are really that close other than the first pitch of the at-bat for a strike. And then Caballero comes up, bases loaded, 2 outs. And I'm frustrated because I wanted to see how Kikuchi would handle this at-bat if it got to, 2-2 or 3-2. How would he still rely on the fastball? Would he maybe surprise with a breaking pitch, that slider or something? But unfortunately, there wasn't even an opportunity to do that because the first pitch Caballero sees, he hits hard. 95-mile-an-hour fastball, up and away, but not away enough. And he's able to, get inside, get his hands inside, hit it deep enough to right field. Not very deep, just 327 feet. But in this ballpark, that was enough to get out. So frustrating that, he didn't even, Kikuchi didn't even have a chance to really have an at-bat. Would have liked to see it get to 1-1, 2-1, 1-2 or whatever, see what he would do, but instead just gives up the home run on the first pitch, the grand slam on the first pitch, and just like that, it's 4-0. Now, we'll talk more about Kikuchi in a second, but outside of that turning point being obvious, the first inning grand slam, there was a couple other turning points in the sense that there were multiple bases loaded at bats for the Angels that didn't go their way. The first being in the top of the second inning, the Angels are able to load the bases right after. And so there's good and bad in this game. All right. The number one takeaway is that there is good and bad in this game. You lose by 1 run. Of course, you don't like to lose, but there's still a lot of positives in this loss. And I'm not just saying this as a fan. I'm not saying this because I'm trying to be a homer and defend losses and all this stuff. I'm just being a guy who is both a fan and an objective, observer of this team. You can't look at this game and say, oh my God, what a horrible loss. How disappointing. Start to say Ron Washington sucks again, all this crud. Come on. This is a loss that had still plenty of positive moments. The first being Kyren Paris, and we'll get into him later, of course. Trust me, we will. I was freaking singing about him yesterday's show. But Kyren Paris leads off the top of the second inning with a home run. And shout out to him, whether it's in the 7th spot, whether it's being pinch hit late in games, he comes through at the biggest moments. And so rarely are you going to say the leadoff batter of the top of the second inning is one of the biggest moments. But when you give up a grand slam and you are looking for instant response, to literally have it as instant as possible with a first leadoff at bat of the top of the second inning with a home run on just the second pitch of the at bat, there can't be more of an instant response than that. And it instantly turns things around for this team. Yes, there's back-to-back ground outs from Anderson and Newman. I mean, Newman, no surprise there. But then Taylor Ward walks, Shanuel singles, Trout singles, and the bases are juiced for Jorge Soler, right? Unfortunately, Soler does pop out. Easily one of the most frustrating at-bats of the game. So frustrating. You go ahead 2-0, you do everything right, and you get a slider down in a way that catches a decent amount of the zone, and he just popped it up. I get it. It's 2-0. He clearly was sitting off speed. He got the off speed, and it was kind of hung, but he got under it a little bit too much. I can't really be mad at it, knowing what Jorge Soler can do to hanging sliders. And we just saw a grand slam the last inning. He was thinking about doing the same thing. Unfortunately, it pops up there. But that was a turning point, even though it only ended up being 1 run, in the sense that very encouraging to see Kyren Paris immediately respond with a solo shot and then see the team build off of that momentum, load the bases. Obviously, a turning point then in the opposite way, and that Soler is not able to convert, but that wasn't the only bases loaded that was failed. Of course, there was a Taylor Ward solo shot in between there. Jorge Soler came back with a solo shot in the 5th as well. So again, this team had life. You hit multiple solo shots, 4 to be exact. Frustrating that they were all solo shots. We'll get into that later. Another reason why this loss is not a horrible one, the fact that you still hit 4 home runs, they just happen to be 4 solo shots, right? But the fact that you're able to load the bases there and not score on it is frustrating, right? But at the end of the day, I'm still viewing that as a positive, right? The fact that you were able to load the bases there, that ends up being a turning point both directions, in the good way and in the bad way. Other than that, the solo shots, right? Baseball needs context. You see the Angels hit 4 home runs. In games in the past, those home runs that were being hit were 3-run shots or 2-run shots from Kyren Paris, right? Or Jorge Soler. Tonight, they just happen to be solo shots, unfortunately. And it's not one of those games where the Angels didn't hit. They had 7 hits. That's solid. They got on base a couple times via the walk, like they continue to do this year, getting on base in multiple ways. Sure, they didn't get gifts in terms of hit by pitches and errors like they have earlier, but you got 5 walks and 7 hits. You get on base 12 times. 4 of those are solo shots. I can't really be mad at the offensive performance. You see 4 runs and you get frustrated, but come on, right? I'm just trying to be reasonable here. I think it's still a decent performance. And so at the end of the day, it's just one of those games where the turning point happened to be that the Rays really only had 2 great swings. One of them was a 4-run swing versus the Angels had 4 good swings, and all 4 of them were solo shots, right? So that's really, it sounds simple. It sounds like maybe it's a cop-out. I don't think it is. I think it's genuinely the takeaway here, that you can't act like it was a horrible loss or anything like that. You could argue the Angels were the better team, and they just didn't have a 4-run swing. They only had 4 1-run swings, right? We'll get to Kyren Paris after the break. We know we have to talk about him. He hits 2 home runs in this one, and the debate has to be, Do we move this guy up and where? We'll talk about that, and we'll talk about Yusei Kikuchi because obviously he has the grand slam that he gives up. Other than that, he's almost perfect in this outing. So are we concerned? Are we okay? Our ace that we just went and acquired is 0 for 2. That's is 0 and 2. That's concerning. A 5 ERA is concerning. He gave up a grand slam. That's concerning. But then he pitched 5 scoreless innings after that. So once again, it's one of those games where there's bad. You lost the game. You gave up a grand slam. Your comeback fell short. Reed Detmers gave up a costly home run in the 7th inning, but there's plenty of good as well in terms of the response from Kikuchi, the response from the lineup, 4 home runs. We'll talk about all that, add some more context to this one, and we'll get to our player of the game and our takeaways, our preview of tomorrow's game after our break here on the Locked On Angels Postcast. It's a frustrating one. I'm just trying to keep it in a bit. I'm frustrated with the loss for sure. But with that being said, today's show is sponsored by wonderful Pistachios. 1 second. There we go. Now, I've talked about it many times. If you're looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious, crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling fuller longer. Personally, I love the no shells variety. It's the perfect grab and go snack for busy days, whether I'm snacking at my desk on a road trip. For example, for me, it's usually in my car on the way to work, on the way from the gym, anything like that. If I need a quick protein boost, they're always my go-to. And if you have more time and more hands free, and you like cracking open every shell for that satisfying crunch, then the in-shell option is a classic favorite as well. So get snacking and cracking with a snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. And today's show is also brought to you by Monarch. I think it's Monarch Money. I don't know why I don't know how to pronounce that properly, but Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder where did all my money go between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment? It's easy to lose track. Amen. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. When I started using it, I realized just how much I was spending on food. I had that transition in college where everything was food delivery. Now I have a car, so I'm thinking, hey, I'm spending less. I'm not paying for delivery fees, but I'm still paying for the darn food. So now I budget smarter and I save more. And instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use this app to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com. Code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. Back here live on the Locked On Angels Postcast. Angels fall 5-4 to the Tampa Bay Rays. Shout out to everybody in here. Seeing some mixed reviews, right? Some people frustrated at the loss. Some people concerned about Kikuchi, right? You're like Nathan here says, our number one starter is 0-2 with a 5 ERA, not stellar. I understand the sentiment, right? At the end of the day, Kikuchi does end up giving that grand slam, but outside of that, he was pretty darn good, right? 6 innings, 6 hits, 4 earned runs, 3 walks is the main concerning thing for me, and obviously the big fly. But if you listen to what I just said, and then you listen to what happened in the first inning, you have 3 hits and a walk, and all 4 runs and the home run, right? So remember that again, 3 hits and the walk. Outside of that inning, the next 5 innings, he gives up 3 hits and 2 walks, right? So horrible first inning, but the bounce back was there. You know how much I am biased and favor the resilience factor for starting pitchers, for relievers. He certainly showed that, and that he was able to respond and not give up any runs, only give up 3 more hits, 2 more walks in the remaining innings of this one. So I'm not ready yet to be concerned, right? Kikuchi, there was always going to be a concern when you made the acquisition in terms of we saw how he was before the trade last season. We saw how he was after the trade with the Astros. Some aspect of that is going to a team that has historically been able to take starters that have been struggling and find what's working and turn them into better pitchers. We were always fearful, or at least I was, when we made the acquisition, which Kikuchi were we going to get? I'm not ready to say that we didn't we're not getting the one that had a stellar end of the season and that we're getting the one who struggled at the beginning of the year. I'm not ready to say that yet at all. There's nothing concerning, quote unquote. He throws the fastball a couple times, too many in that first inning. One of them got crushed for a grand slam. But the resilience, the ability to come back in innings 2 through 6, I don't think I'm ready to panic yet. He wasn't awful in the opener either. Didn't get much help from his lineup in that one. So not ready to panic or anything like that. Got to give it a couple more starts before we make any sort of crazy claims about Kikuchi, but I think he'll be just fine. In terms of crazy claims, it might be time to start making crazy claims about one fella on the Angels.
This is the Locked On Player of the Game.
Of course, it is our Lord and Savior, glorious Kyren Paris. 2 hits, 2 home runs for Kyren Paris. The man, he can't stop. You heard me yesterday. Kyren, Kyren, Kyren. I'm talking about the man on the Angels. Kyren. I'm going to do it every time. I don't care. Clown me. Do whatever you want. Kyren Paris, he deserves the songs. He deserves the glaze, as they like to say. He hits another 2 home runs tonight. Once again, if either of those home runs has a man on, we're talking about a tie game. We're talking about maybe the Angels winning this baseball game, right? But leave all that aside. This guy deserves so much credit. And it's time to talk about moving him up. There's nothing more you can prove. It's not 1 game. It's not 2 games. It's not only when he pinch hits or only when he's, hitting with good players behind. Dude, this guy did this with Tim Anderson and Kevin Newman behind him. Tim Anderson, who's hitting 154. Newman, who's hitting 063, right? So there's no fear of the guys after him. There's no need to pitch to Kyren Paris, and he is still killing it with 2 home runs in this one. So just imagine if this guy was hitting first, second, fifth, sixth, right? Just imagine, right? Having real guys behind him. Imagine this guy hitting second with Mike Trout behind him and the pitches that Kyren is going to see, knowing that Mike Trout is there, right? There needs to be some shuffling in the lineup. Obviously, Shanuel had a good performance in this one. He's been pretty solid. I know he's in the 2 spot sometimes, the 6 spot sometimes. And it's going to be really interesting when Neto comes back. And I know Neto has been killing it in the minors. He seems like he's ready to go. My question of the day to you guys is, with Neto back, I'm not worried about right now because there's only going to be a few more games with Neto not back. Obviously, with the way the lineup is right now, I think it's malpractice if Kyren Paris is not moved up tomorrow. If Neto's not back, Kyren Paris should be hitting above Moncada. That was the only thing that kind of infuriated me in this one, was how in the world in Moncada's first game back from the injury is he hitting above Kyren Paris, who's the best hitter on the Angels right now? That's ridiculous, right? Ohapi I get, Soler I get, Trout I get. I would like to see at this point Taylor Ward get moved out of the leadoff spot because he's struggling. And if screw it, if you want to put Kyren Paris right there at the leadoff spot for a game and see if he hits any differently, he is such a leadoff hitter in the sense that he's got the speed, right? He's not a leadoff hitter in the sense that maybe he's not the best at always seeing a ton of pitches like a veteran might. And he's honestly not been much of a contact hitter this year. He's been hitting so many darn home runs. But at this point, it's one of those things where he's one of, if not your hottest hitter right now, while being the fastest guy in the lineup. Just put him at leadoff. You might as well. If he gets on first base, he already has a couple stolen bases this year. If he hits a solo shot, then screw it. He hits a solo shot, and then he's going to come up again a couple innings later, right? So I think it's time in the short term to move Kyren Paris. Dang near, screw it. Put him at the leadoff spot. He's this hot. You might as well do it. The question becomes, when Neto comes back, what do you want to see? I would totally be okay with, at this point, with Kyren playing as well as he is, going Kyren, Neto, Trout, Soler, Ohapi. I hate that it's 5 righties in a row, but whatever. At this point, they're the ones that are going to hit, right? So I say Kyren. That's a pretty nasty starting 5 or first 5 right there. Kyren, Neto, Trout, Soler, Ohapi. From there, I probably say Shanuel, just to finally get a lefty in there, change it up a bit. Shanuel, Ward, and then you go Adele there, right? So Adele and then Rengifo. Ideally, in my opinion, it would be Rengifo. But that's a very interesting lineup right there. I know right now Kyren Paris is playing center field. Tim Anderson's making some good plays in the field the last couple of games, so I get the need to have him in there with Kevin Newman at short. But when Neto comes back and is playing short, there's no need for Kyren Paris to not be playing second base, play Joe Adell in center field, and you've got a pretty insane lineup. So let me know in the comment section what you guys think. I think that would be the ideal one. People like Antonios are absolutely right. Then they say Neto might need a couple games to get settled back into the majors. Cool. Put Neto at 7 or 8 right now. Keep Kyren up top. Keep Shanuel at the 2 for now. And then when Neto's ready to go, put him at the 2, move Shanuel down to the 6 or something. He's had some success there as well. So let me know if you agree. When Neto's back, is that the starting the lineup, the order? Paris, Neto, Trout, Soler, Ohapi. From there, I believe we said Shanuel, Ward, Adell, Rengifo, something like that. That'd be pretty interesting. Rengifo would probably have things to say about hitting that low. Maybe you swap Rengifo and Shanuel and have Shanuel hit 9th or something. A lot of different options you could have there. Adell hitting 9th as well. But let me know what you think the lineup should be both before Neto comes back and when he does. But other than that, again, I talked plenty about this game in terms of the obvious takeaway, right? We didn't talk about Reed Detmer. It's a little bit frustrating that he gives up the solo shot in the 7th inning, because at that point, it is a tie ball game, or at that point, it's a 1-run ball game. And if he doesn't give up that solo shot, that Kyren Paris home run in the 8th is enough to tie this one. So frustrating that happened. Obviously, it's going to happen with Reed Detmers. He's still hardly even a major league pitcher, let alone a major league reliever. Still an okay outing for him in that he's able to get through 2 innings and only give up 1 hit, being that solo shot. But that really sums up the game perfectly, right? You have your starter who has a great 5 innings other than a grand slam in the bottom of the first. You have a reliever who has 2 good innings other than the solo shot. He doesn't give up a hit. And like everyone is properly saying, including Akura, pop-ups, right? 327 feet was the grand slam from Caballero. Very frustrating there, right? So in all honesty, I'm not going to lose my mind over this performance in any way. It's frustrating we lost. That's what's going to happen. You play so many close games like the Angels have been doing so far, is that there's going to be games where you win tight ones like we saw yesterday, and there's going to be games where you lose tight ones like you saw today. But for it to come in a game where there's still huge takeaways, Kyren Paris looks like a star in the making. The home run ball is still a thing for the Angels, and it looks like it will be throughout the whole season. Kikuchi still showed enough in those other innings for me to still feel all right about him going forward. So ANA CJB here says that Texas won tonight, so we got to take it tomorrow. I think either way, we got to take it tomorrow. Because you got to keep this going in terms of winning the series. You've done it the first 3 so far. You got the opportunity to do it tomorrow. Obviously, it's going to be a different first pitch. That's one thing to note. Should be a little bit better in terms of the show. It's going to be closer to lunchtime, which means I can do the show during my lunch break. No questions asked about being able to do it right after the show. Again, thanks for waiting for the delayed start here today. I appreciate that. But yes, expect me to be on right after the game ends tomorrow. Still able to have a normal 20-ish minute show like we did tonight. And other than that, we'll be back. We'll be just fine tomorrow. If I have to make my prediction, I asked it. I didn't make it yesterday. I probably would have said a win, to be honest. I'm going to be biased and say it's going to be a win today. Tomorrow, Our boy, my boy, Jose Soriano on the mound. Certainly like him over Littell for the Rays. He's 0-2, 10-10 start. Give me the Angels. Ron Washington, I better see Kyren Paris higher in the lineup. At least put him over Moncada, but preferably maybe it's time to just make the jump and put him at that leadoff spot. He's looking like a star in the making. But with all that being said, we're going to wrap this one up. Shout out to everybody in here. Leave a like, leave a comment, all that good stuff. We'll be back here tomorrow right after the end of the game, not with the delay, but really appreciate you guys for waiting it out after this one. Again, leave your comments in there. I want to hear what you think the 9 should be. We have the last nail in the coffin here saying it should be Rengifo, Shanuel, Trout, Paris. He's got Paris at the cleanup spot. Wow. Rengifo, Shanuel, Trout, Paris, Ohapi, Soler, Ward, Adell, Neto. Interesting. Gilbert says he likes that. So, all right, if you like that, I certainly want to hear what everyone thinks in the comments. Put that in there. Absolutely want to hear it. We can debate it. We can see what Ron Washington does tomorrow with Neto still out of the lineup, and then see what he does once Neto comes back. But again, that's all for tonight. Appreciate everybody in here. We'll be back tomorrow, and it will be after an Angels win. Take care, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow. Go Halo.